And it's show time. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the love for the part-time Funkar PTF podcast that you guys have been giving out. And that has been really inspiring us to make sure that we bring in valuable content. And with respect to that, today I have a legend with whom I'm going to have a conversation. First of all, I'm super thankful that he has carved out some time to bring out and share his journey. Gonna be a very personally interesting topic for me as well because it's about entrepreneurship. And in Silicon Valley, what defines entrepreneur or an angel investor or a mentor is equal to Mr. Kanwal Rekhi. We are going to have a conversation with Mr. Kanwal and get to know his story about how himself being an immigrant, his past days, the days when he faced and started building things block by block, his resilient journey, and a lot more about entrepreneurship and today's time of the AI era. What does he have in mind for new budding entrepreneurs? And at the very end of this podcast, we are going to know Mr. Rekhi's laws of how to be an entrepreneur. So get ready, everyone, as I get started in this fantastic conversation with this amazing person, Mr. Kanwal Rekhi. Hello, sir.
Thank you, Ron, for that wonderful intro.
Absolutely, sir. I think you have been a role model for many of us. And, to just get started with this conversation, would really like to know, like yourself being an immigrant, how were those days? Like in that time when you just started off, what were the challenges you faced? Was it as easy as it is like today to get based in like the tons of opportunities that the Silicon Valley has?
So it was a different America that I came to. America had the mojo. It's strode on the world stream, confident, welcoming, open universities, free speech, free trade. It wasn't afraid of anything. It wasn't afraid to compete on any front. What you have in America right now under President Trump, is not the America that I came to. This America is a little bit strange, but this one part was there. The racism was very rampant when I arrived. There were race riots. The U.S. was a racist society by and large. When we arrived here, so we did feel some of the racism ourselves. I personally felt, when the professors thought I wasn't as smart as other people would be. You are from India. India is a third world country. You guys cannot be that smart. I mean, and they were pretty blunt about those messages. But we'll help you. We'll teach you. That kind of message. Uh, the India that I came from was just emerging. From 200 years of then I grew up in 50s. After the law of independence, very idealistic. We are trying to be different on the world stage. We are setting up the IITs, to train the best engineers in the world. So, so people like me are very confident at a personal level because, we came from the top institutes like IITs, right? But IITs didn't have any brand name or any presence either in India or in the US, because they were set up. But the IIT brand now is established for people like Vinod Khosla and Sundar Pichai. You have the IIT alumni everywhere now, right? So we were sort of in a mode of keeping our head down. You didn't want to respond to people's comments. Was meaningless because everybody felt that way.
So yeah. So what I see is that time was where kind of immigrants were given a second preference. With that kind of a environment, you being an IITian, I'm sure you had a lot of dreams and ambitions. When you came to this land, was there a goal already in your mind that you want to be an entrepreneur, or was it to
No. There was no idea, no thought. I came from a middle class family. My father was an army officer. My brothers were in the army. Getting a good, reliable job, is the ambition that most of us have. Most of the middle class Indians have. Beta, settle ho jao. Yeah,
Right.
responsible, get a job, right? Get married. So, the goal was to become, a smart engineer. That's
Mm.
what I was doing. I was already electrical engineer doing my master's. By the way, Americans were very generous people. They were sharing openly. You know, they were putting you in this box of being not that smart and not that thin, but after you, hey, with our help, you will be smart. You will get there, right? So there was this generosity, with a little bit of but I will use the arrogancy, right? And so the and we have to acknowledge it. You looked at America, and you came from a very in disorganized India. We just had a we just had a famine when I came from India. PL 480. Nobody remembers PL 480. Public Law 480 was a law under which U.S. shipped tons and tons of wheat to India to stave off that famine in 1966. Your generation doesn't even know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this notion, the multitude of Indians, poor, starving people. And America was again, generous to ship. I think close to 1 million ton of wheat was shipped to India that year. And to stave off the famine. So that was the background. So people like us had to acknowledge that, and you can't open your mouth and say I'm smart. India is great. Yeah, it was useless exercise. So head down, do what you have to do to compete. Prove yourself. That happened very quickly. That happened very quickly. Year or two after our arrival, Americans were starting to feel, Indians are smart people. So I think by the time 70s rolled around, at least at the universities, there was a realization that Indians are sharp. Maybe IIT education is something special. So there was a step by step building of reputation of the things. And I was there along the whole thing. I didn't do the I didn't do the PhD route. A lot of people in my generation yeah, went the PhD route, became researchers, became professors. And yeah, I was more more economic center. Right after I. Oh, by the way, back then
Mm-hmm.
America was very generous in giving visas. You finish your
Yes.
education, you apply for visa. I applied for my green card in May after I finished, graduated, and I had my green card, not the, not this other, B1 visa, but HB1 visa. I had green card in my hand by September, 3 months.
Wow. 3 months.
3 months. And so it was very different world. And so you didn't even need a job sponsor. You are here, you have master's degree in electrical engineering, you apply for a visa and you get a visa.
So, talking about the visa saga that's currently also going on, with all the H-1B reforms and stuff, one thing that maybe I would like to connect the dot back then was around industrial layoffs. And I've heard stories about your resilience where there were like multiple number of layoffs in the initial years. If you could talk a bit about that, and how was your mental frame, because you said, like, with just settling in and getting started.
Yeah. So so just so there was a backdrop of this Vietnam War. Vietnam War was a bit thing. 50,000 people were being drafted every month. To be sent to Vietnam. U.S. had more than 500,000 people in Vietnam fighting that war. And so a lot of people, young people, were out there fighting the war. And in some fashion, that left a void at the universities, that Indians filled, and the job markets, we started to fill. By 71, war was winding down. but also there was this backdrop of the moon landing program.
Mm.
The president Kennedy had set the goal of putting a man on the moon and bringing him back by the end of the decade, right? Which they did achieve in 1969, July 18th. The man was put on the moon. But there was no follow up program. NASA had a massive you know, impact on the employment market. Engineers were being, working on NASA projects for years. Large number of engineers, working on the NASA contracts. That Apollo, moon landing program was coming to end. Vietnam War was, winding down, and and there was a recession. There was a recession. The job market was slowing down, and there was also a early automobile issue. The Japanese were starting to export more and more Toyotas, and so for the first time the American auto industry was starting to feel some competition and some pressure. So all of that came together. Yeah, yeah. So when I finished in 1969, things were starting to get bad. I had the job. I got laid off. In 7 months, and again, the the mini computer industry, the mainframe industry already had a problem. Where IBM was emerging as a winner, and all the other computer companies were sort of falling behind. GE, Honeywell, Burroughs. There was 6 or 7 of those companies, and they were losing out to IBM in mainframe, so they were laying off people. But there was this mini computer company, that started to emerge as a winner. Digital equipment. They had a PDP 11, and there were about 30, 40 mini computer companies, which were starting to lose out. And one of those companies was the one I went to work for in New Jersey, called EAI. They lost the battle, so they were pulling out of mini computer, business, and I was hired as an engineer there. So I went from there to a company called SCL. SCL was supplying the computers to NASA for space program, and NASA was starting to wind down the space program. So their computers were not selling. So I was there 7, 8 months before I got laid off. Then I went to work for another large company this time, RCA Computers. RCA was competing with IBM mainframes.
Okay.
But engineers like me, we are focused on the job interview, research, and development. We are not paying attention to the balance sheet. We're not paying attention to the competition. We're not paying attention to the market, right? And even now, less so, but even now, people don't pay attention. So those three job losses were, at the time, I felt, maybe something wrong with me.
Mm.
But in retrospect, there was a turmoil in the marketplace.
Right. Right.
So put a positive spin on it. Eh, The jobs were unavailable on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, where the population was. And but there was this place called Santa Clara Valley on the West Coast, where the new companies were coming up, jobs were becoming available. Intel, AMD, National, they were startups, and um, so 3,000 miles away, I applied for a job. I got a job here. So, immigrants, we are very mobile. We go where the jobs are, where the opportunity is, right? So I moved to Silicon Valley in '71. Before it was a Silicon Valley, it was still
Mm.
Santa Clara Valley, and so I got here at the dawn of this age of entrepreneurship. The chip companies were just starting. Intel, National, AMD, I mentioned. So this Silicon Valley was named because of this this new chip industry was starting out here.
Okay. Fantastic. And I see that part of your journey as a literal like tapasya, and it seems that kind of build a foundation to be an entrepreneur who went on to become the first Indian American to take a company to IPO. So, sir, a little bit about that journey, that defining moment. Like, how did that happen?
So while I was being laid off, I got married. yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I had a pen pal. When I was in India, an American girl as in my pen pal. So we wrote to each other for several years, and we finally met. And we finally met in Florida. When I was there, working for SCL and RCA, and we decided to get married. Right after I got married, I lost my second job, and then a few months after we were married, I lost my third job. So she and I traveled together, by road from Florida to California. So
Wow.
so now
Okay.
we are here in California, newly married. I have a job. I'm focused on very keeping my job, but I'm also now very smart about jobs, and I wasn't sure
Mm.
this job will last. So I will have my resume ready, and I will send resume out all the time. Keep applying for new jobs, even though I have a job, and go interview and get another offer. I did that for 3 years. Before I
3 years.
realized that.
And during that time, there was no LinkedIn and these kind of job portals. So how was that process itself to apply for a job?
Well, the newspaper ads, the trade magazines, you know, the trade journals, right? That's where the company advertise for the, that's what company used to advertise for the jobs. The word of mouth, right? So I kept applying for jobs and kept getting job offers and kept saying no because I was starting to like what I was doing. But
Right.
but I wasn't going to be caught without a job or be laid off. Yeah. So I kept a very sharp eye on the company's business. Is company viable? Are they done in the new business? Cinderlink was supplying. I worked for Cinderlink. They were supplying the flight simulators, to train pilots for Air Force, Navy, airlines. And eventually also for NASA. NASA space shuttle was announced. 73, 74. That they will have this reusable, you know, shuttle to take people to space. So so I stayed at Link for 9 years. And within 3, 4 years I was there, I had become top-notch engineer for them. And I was doing really well. They loved me, I loved them. But then I started to notice, that people who were not as good as me were getting promoted to become managers. And eventually realized that that people like us in the Indians were not seen as a managerial material.
Mm, mm.
We have speech issues, we have cultural issues, and that earlier notion of you're not smart. Maybe you're not a general manager. You don't have financial skills. You don't have communication skills. You don't have you don't know how to sell. You don't know how to market. You are a one-dimensional engineer. So that became our type trust. We were
Right.
engineers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I would inquire about, hey, why didn't I get the promotion? Well, you're a top-notch engineer. We don't want to lose you. And why would you? Pay was good. Yeah, I mean, probably would made more money as a manager. But finally realized that there was, I'm 34, 35 by that time. That I'm set at this level forever because there's no path up, right?
That's forward. Yep.
Yeah, once you have been working as an engineer for 10 years, you're very good. And you have to become manager. You have to do
Oh.
things beyond beyond design work, right? And that wasn't possible. So Silicon Valley was hotbed of startups by late 70s. Yeah. All of a sudden, saw somebody who worked for me had done and become a startup entrepreneur.
Mm,
And I
true.
scratched my head,
Yeah.
i- if this I can do it, why not me? Why can I be an entrepreneur? Why do I have to work for linked as an engineer forever? And that thought ate at me from inside. Why can't I not become an engineer? What is stopping me? Yeah, yeah. So I told my wife I want to leave my job and I want to start a new company. And she got very worried very quickly. We have a house, we have children, we have bills, we have mortgage, we have car payments. What will happen if you don't have a salary? We were very well settled. I had a son and a daughter by that time. We had bought a house, and I said I have to try it. And give me a year. If we run into money problems, I'll go. I'll leave my pride and go back and get a job. Yeah. So I had that agreement with my wife that I will make sure that nobody suffers, especially children. So I left the job. Y- Now this is 1981. 81 was the year the IBM PC was introduced. The PC is now
Ah,
44 years old. Yeah, IBM
right.
PC, and but also the year you know units started to happen. There were
Ah,
super micros being built by people, with the units on them as the servers, to replace the mainframes and mini computers. So there was a lot of activity, a lot of activity. We already had the mainframes, we already had the mini computers. There are super micros happening. The desktop PCs. There's the Apple, you
hmm,
know, you know, Apple II, Apple III were happening back then. So I said, these machines will have to be networked with each other, and that's what we will do. So there was a very a good idea that, and I was very smart hardware engineer, and I looked at the specs and I say I can implement these protocols uh, using off the shelf chips in no time. And I sat down and I had a drafting table at home. I sat down on my drafting table and did a design, sketched out a design, and scratched my head. It should work. It talked to a couple of my friends. Three of us left to start our company, Epsilon. Yeah. And I think we left our company to start Epsilon on the Christmas day of 1971 or 1981.
right. Phenomenal. So I think what I hear is literally your entrepreneurship journey started maybe in your garage or in your home on the drafting table itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It,
but it started when I got destabilized by David Jackson, who worked for me, who became an entrepreneur. If David Jackson, yeah, can go have a gumption to become an entrepreneur, what is stopping me?
fantastic.
And I couldn't answer that. And the answer was, well, I'm afraid, I'm chicken, I'm not confident, I'm not good enough. And none of those were satisfactory answer, right?
So, sir, basically, on one side, you said that you were very well settled. In fact, I feel that is the most difficult time when you are about to leave for a journey that is untapped. And alongside, as you said, like Ethernet was a future idea or a future industry that was going to boom. Again, something which had a lot of exploration. Was the thought that was the at core which led you to become an entrepreneur, that why can't I? Because everything was like so.
Yeah. So being settled and being comfortable is the opposite of being an entrepreneur, right?
Very
You're
well.
happy. You enjoy your beer. Yeah, you watch your TV. Yeah, you have your routine, right?
Mm,
That's the a typical successful middle class. Yeah, working engineer, right? Yeah, working stiff. That's what I want to use. So somebody has to knock you out of
mm,
your center. Something has to. You are not settled mentally anymore. Is this all there is to it in life for me? Am I destined to become a engineer, a stay engineer for the rest of my life? I'm 35. I am at the top of my game. There's no place I can't grow into anything else, right? And then I noticed there were senior managers above me who had the side businesses of Amway or something like that, selling
Mhm.
soap.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that
yeah,
time.
yeah, to supplement their income. And do I, yeah, want to become a
Pursue.
Amway dealer, right? So all those things came together, and I said,
Mm,
no, no, I am young, I am smart, I am, no, yeah, I am going to, yeah, don't give it a shot, and
fantastic.
if I fail, I fail, but
Mm,
if I don't even try, it will be a shame.
amazing. So one question that comes to my mind here is, there is always this debate overall in the startup world where some folks are of the philosophy that you should never have a safety net or burn the bridges, versus some folks are like, maybe have a plan B. What's your
Yeah,
take on that?
plan B is a bad idea. Yeah, plan B is a bad idea because
Mm,
you are already starting by saying that I may need a plan B. I started out by saying that I will make it. Yeah.
fantastic.
And if I don't make it, people will hire me. No, no problem whatsoever. Yeah, I was very smart. My old company will hire me in no time at all. Yeah. But you have to prepare.
Yes.
You have to prepare. You have responsibilities. You have wife, you have children, you have mortgage. Yeah. So you have to prepare, to make sure that you can last for a year to 2 years, without an income.
Hmm. In a little snapshot, if you could give, the harsh realities of that initial phase of becoming an entrepreneur, because in nowadays time, of course, like in the late time now, entrepreneurship has been glamorized a lot, like equity, and then you get this status and this and that, like fancy cars and everything. But if you could give that kind of a
Oh no,
snapshot.
that glamorization is because of shows like Shark
Shark
Tank
Tank.
and all that. The entrepreneur's life is very lonely life. It's a
Hmm.
very life of being unsure. Every day you have to say, "Am I being smart or am I being dumb?" Yeah, yeah. My friends are having good time. They are going
Hmm.
to see movies. They are going to football games. Why am I working 20 hours a day for no salary? Lot of self doubts. Lot of self doubts. Nothing works. And you have, you start, most people who start out, they leave within 6 months. So here's the math behind it. Only 1 to 2% of the population at large becomes entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. 1 to 2% in America, right? In India, the number is even smaller, right?
Hmm.
So 1 to 2% arts are very poor arts. Yeah, a 98 to 99% chance that you will fail as an entrepreneur. So those are the arts that you took to come in.
Hmm.
And you have to convince yourself if you're a smart engineer, smart, you're doing your math calculations. Why would I place that bet? So you have to be, but you have placed that bet, right?
Right, right, right.
So 6 months, if you are able to sustain it for 6 months, your arts improve tenfold.
Hmm. Wow.
Because 90% of the people who start out, they quit
I've already quit.
within
Yeah.
first 6 months. So you're part of that 10% that survived the first 6 months, and 1 to 2% arts became now 10 to 20% arts.
Hmm. Yep. Amazing.
Yeah, and so then the math becomes very very compelling. One in five arts, arts, I'm smarter than most of the world. I'll make it. If I make it, I'm set for life.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if I don't make it, I don't get back to that is a job. Yeah, no worse off than I was before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
that the math starts to work in your favor, right?
right, right.
But it
Super.
is a very lonely journey. It's a
Hmm.
very tough journey. A lot of self doubts.
Awesome. Okay. With regards to the IPO movement, how was that? Like, was that maybe if you could describe me the night before, maybe at your home, did you have a discussion
The
with your wife?
IPO is still 5 6 years away.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
We started in 81, 82. IPO didn't happen till 87.
All right,
Yeah, yeah. So the ups and downs of business, right?
right. Right.
And so we had a couple of good years. I
Mm-hmm.
designed the products. Boats were brought in. We were getting some initial customers. My partner was not very good. He took the responsibility of selling and marketing and management. I took the responsibility of making sure the product is designed and manufactured. So everything was designed and manufactured, but it wasn't selling. Yeah,
Mm,
and and so he and I had a conflict. And he got fired by the board. He got fired by the board because of lack of performance. And so I stayed back, and I got promoted to become the CEO. I was a VP of engineering in the initial phase, right? And so there was a year 1985 when this happened. You know, 3 years after we started, I went through the process. Became a CEO. I transformed myself as a person from being an engineer to being a sales and marketing guy overnight.
mm-hmm.
That was the need of the moment.
Right.
And by the end of 85, we were selling. We were profitable. We were growing very nicely. So that transformation was the transformation I talked about, becoming a CEO from being a VP of engineering, where you become a whole person responsible for designing, manufacturing, selling, marketing, selling, managing money. So that process was the process that transition happened in 85 when I went from being engineer with a beard and a pocket protector and to a shirt and a tie and a jacket,
Mm.
to become a CEO, right? So by 86, 87, 86, was a very good year for us. Yeah. So even there I had issues. Company was doing really well,
Mm-hmm.
and sales were doing really well. But now there's a thought of doing an IPO, taking the company public. And the board looks at me and says, there are no Indian CEOs on Wall Street. And what if the Wall Street rejects you as an Indian CEO? Not because your company is not doing well, because they don't think Indians can make big companies. Yeah, of course you can start a company. We have proven that you can manage 100 people, 200 people. Yeah. Can you manage 2,000 people? Can you make a large national company that IPOs, yeah, 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 promise to the investors? Right? So again, I got, they brought a new CEO in. A new CEO came in. Yeah, largely it was very straightforward. We have built a huge value. Do you want to destroy that value just because yeah, yeah, yeah. You have proven that you are good, person. Should we take a chance? So when we went public, I was not a CEO. I was a chairman of the board. I went on the IPO tour, but this white guy was brought in 6 7 months before the IPO.
How was that moment? Like,
Yeah,
was there?
it was sort of silly, right? You're being demoted not because your performance is not very good. You're being demoted because your performance is too good. Yeah, and the fear that the IPO might fail. Yeah, so it was a very strange feeling, right? And I would come home and say, boy, this guy we brought in, he's not very good, but he looks like a CEO, right? So so after the CEO, board got wised up and they fired him. They fired him a few months after CEO. So he saw the purpose of doing the IPO. I mean IPO, and so I became the CEO second time, and this time a CEO of a public company, right? And I did extremely well on the Wall Street.
Fantastic. Did you enjoy the CEO part more or the engineer part or the
No, no,
engineering?
I loved being an engineer when I was young. I loved being a CEO when time came.
Mm,
It's
mm.
a day and night difference in job responsibility. CEO is a much
True,
broader job, much broader
true,
job.
true. So for younger generation like ours who are currently at leading engineering positions, you said that overnight you had to bring in the transformation of sales skills like sales, marketing, etc. what are a few lessons that you would share for?
Yeah. So let me step back and give you a perspective. You get very good, when you specialize and you're within your comfort zone. You know how to write code, you know how to design, you know how stuff works. It's well defined word. Yeah, and you get, but you start to stagnate. You start to stagnate as a person because you're not growing anymore.
Right,
It's
right.
when you step out of your comfort zone. You know, you know, I need to market and sell. What do I know about marketing? Well, I had to learn the ABC of marketing. Yeah, so you start to apply yourself. You start to learn, and you start to grow. So you have to step out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, for you to grow, professionally, spiritually, you
Hmm,
have to be out of your comfort zone. So that's one of the Rethi's principle. When you get very good at what you're doing, step out of your comfort zone and do something else. Yeah, because see, it's like being in a profession. Profession is like climbing a mountain. You get to the
yeah.
top of the mountain. What do? Stay there, right? Which is there's no place else to go, right? So you have to step down from that mountain
Oh,
and find the next mountain to climb.
yeah. A higher one, maybe.
Higher,
More challenging,
more challenging, different. Yeah,
different.
yeah. So becoming it requires you to take proactive risk of leaving your comfort zone, living where you have excelled, to learn something new. And being CEO, you have learned many things new simultaneously.
Yeah.
You have
And
to learn to sell, you have learned to manage people, you have learned how to budget, you have learned to find new markets, you have learned
mm,
to hire smart people, right?
yeah, yeah. And with regards to that, can you share one habit of yours that you have that is still stuck with you? Maybe that you pursued out of your comfort zone, and then you were like, this is something, maybe meditation or anything, like any specific habit if you'd like to share.
No,
That,
those things came later. The the biggest thing I learned,
Mhm.
the biggest thing I learned, once I became CEO was how to prioritize. Yeah, so you can have is one in one respect we are all equal. You can have huge skills in you can have lots of money, but you can never have more time in a day than
Yep,
24
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
So you have to do the highest priorities thing first.
Mm,
That means you need to define what your priorities are. And to define your priorities, you have to set very firm goals. I need to achieve this.
yes.
I need to make $50 million in sales next year. What does it take to make $50 million sales? Well, I need new products. I need new markets. I need new, this. I need a new more capacity. Then you work your way down.
Mm,
I got this much time to make those things happen. So you start to prioritize. What is the one thing I must do? That's number one. What is the next thing I must do? Number two. So I used to became I became a very very hard prioritizer. And I have stayed that most of my life. Yeah, You don't want to do low priority things. The things don't matter and consume time and leave the things that need to be done undone. Right?
yep, awesome. And so, yeah, coming back to that question.
Yeah.
So, what was your
The thing you talk about, you have to take care of yourself,
right, right?
both mentally and physically.
Yes.
You are not able to do what needs to be done if you're not
Mm,
physically fit
mm,
or mentally fit. So you have to make time. You have to make time, for exercises. You have to make time for the family. During the worst of the times, I made time to make sure my son and my daughter had a full time dad.
very important.
Especially my son. and I used to do walking every night. I came home, we went walking, we'll walk a couple of miles, and that was part of my exercising, and part of my time with him. And our interaction was mostly math problems. You know,
Oh, okay.
Initially math tables, pahare, right?
Right.
And eventually, if you are going to Tahoe, it's 200 miles away. You
Yeah.
get 20 miles to a dollar. How much money dollars do you need? For the gasoline.
Mm.
Yeah,
Amazing.
right. Gasoline is $3 and or $2 a gallon. So there are problems that I will think of, and then he is solving in his head as we are
Yeah.
walking,
Yeah.
and so the, the problems you can handle sufficiently complex, but not they're designed to make you think and progress, right? So my son and I had that. And that was a very good diversion for me away from my day's worries, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Exactly.
have to take care of yourself. Physically, you have to be fit.
True.
It's a very drooling
Mm.
job, working long hours, right? And then mentally, you have to give yourself time. Yeah. Yeah. Meditation, music.
Mm.
In my case, the puzzles, transport puzzles, and other puzzles to go through. Chess. Yeah.
I've heard like you are very fond of playing chess. Do you think chess has got a lot of like similarities to the game of entrepreneurship?
Chess is very similar to the game of life. Yeah,
Bold.
you play the long term game, you play the short term game. You pay.
Mm.
You're tactical. You're
Mm.
strategic. You develop your position on the table. You have you know, quick hits here and there. So you have to balance everything out. You have to balance everything out. You're playing against what's on the table. All these things are visible to you. If I didn't do this, then this will happen. Same thing in life. You have to make best possible moves. With what you have on the table,
Right.
and after every move, you have to reassess. Yeah,
Mm.
the yeah board changes. Chess is a game of life. Complex
Very
enough
well.
to think. Can I think 2 or 3 moves ahead?
Mm.
If
Mm.
you can think 2 to 3 moves ahead, you're very good. Some of these chess grandmasters think 4 to 5 moves
Yeah.
ahead, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So, with the IPO journey going ahead, I think you were also in a position to take the role of bringing capital and starting to invest. Uh, During that time in Silicon Valley itself, like, when you started investing and you have mentored almost like
No,
thousands.
so I didn't start investing. That
Hmm.
that so after I left Nobel,
Hmm.
I wanted to take time off,
Okay.
and so that time off meant do something different, and Thai was
Yeah.
starting, so I started to spend my full time at
Hmm.
Thai, mentoring people, yeah, helping people think through their business plans. Just have session like we are having right now. I set up an office at Thai office, and with open door. People will wait outside. Like just like a doctor, and they come in after one after the other. Year 1985, 86. I became very active mentor. I really loved it. People were benefiting. Then I realized that even the people I thought were very sharp and very good were still not getting funding.
Hmm. Hmm.
VC was still not funding. So the funding and investment part only happened once I realized that things have not changed that much from the time when I was looking for money. And so we started to invest small amount here and there, and so I didn't set out to become a investor. Was a mentor.
Hmm.
Investments became necessary. Because the student entrepreneurs were still not that funding. It was after Hotmail, such as
Hmm.
that. the doors opened more widely for Indian entrepreneurs. 1987, 88, 87, 86, 87, 88, in that time frame, yeah, enough Indians were succeeding as entrepreneurs.
Mm,
Yeah, Hotmail was a big hit, right?
yep. And I think you recently made a video about how there was a missed opportunity with Mr.
Oh,
Sabir
yeah,
Bhatia.
yeah. Again, yeah. Missing opportunity is a learning experience, right?
Mm, yep.
Yeah, they, you know, I was not able to see the value that Sabir was creating, yeah, more clearly. And now I do, because another thing I learned in life, the asset has a value, different value in different people's hands.
Mm, right.
Yeah, Hotmail under Sabir's hand was trusting $1 million a month. Yeah, he had new servers, new things. Yeah, but he had nothing to upsell, right?
Mm,
But
mm,
Hotmail in the hand of Microsoft, yeah, was worth a lot of 10 million
got it.
users. Yeah, they
Yeah.
had a lot of stuff to upsell.
True, true. So, do you think in even in today's time now that you have got so many experiences, um, is it about investing in the people or the person or
Yeah,
the product and
yeah.
its
Yeah,
business
by the
model?
yeah, Hotmail was not the only thing I missed. Yeah, when the social
Okay.
media started to happen, people will come and tell me about social media, startups, and it wouldn't make any sense to me. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense to me. Yeah,
Mm,
because I was thinking of businesses, business efficiency. That's where I grew up, right?
mm, mm,
Yeah. Why would anybody, how would this invert, people sharing, news and photos? How will, how the money is made, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
notion of media, advertising, was not established, right? So
Mm,
coming back to, yeah, you never want to invest in technology. You never want to invest in markets. You want to invest in people.
mm,
People are the ones who make the difference. Yeah, this debate has been there in the valley for a long time.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
you bet on the horse or you bet on the
yeah.
jockey?
Right, right.
Jockey is the entrepreneur, horse is the market, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice to have a nice horse and a nice jockey, right?
True.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah, but
Ideal.
So there were firms, which were horse oriented, yeah,
Mm,
and there were firms, VC firms, which are jati. I mean, jati oriented. So Sitwaya was always market, Kleiner pattern was always about the entrepreneur. I tend to fall in the category of entrepreneurs. They made all the difference. A good entrepreneur, should be able to find the right market, build the right team,
mm,
yeah, and should a, a bad entrepreneur goes down. Yeah, he is in love with his idea.
mm,
Yeah, he
mm.
thinks he's the only person who, that matters. He doesn't respect his team. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Here's the actually law number two. Entrepreneurship is a team sport.
Yes, totally. So, sir, now mm, shifting a bit from Silicon Valley to the startup world currently in India, we have seen tremendous startups coming up, that too in several different markets. What's your uh, foresight? Because I know Thai itself is so much heavily invested into mentoring entrepreneurs. What's your take on India's startup ecosystem?
Well, India's startup system is approaching 25 years. Right? Companies like Notary and companies like yeah, yeah, Made My Trip started
Mm,
around 99, 2000, right? If you go back. So, so there is now two generations of people who have been doing startups. First 10, 15 years, there was almost no exits, right? The problem in India still is and always was the government. Yeah. The babus, the government, heavy hand of regulation, heavy hand of, you know, what you can do, what you cannot do, right? Yeah, yeah. the entrepreneurship is the freest of the free markets. If you over-regulate it, if you tightly control it, what kind of deals you can do, where you can invest. So the message, yes, if the government was a little bit more focused, a little bit more purposeful, things will move much faster. But they're happening and they will happen.
Exactly, exactly. And do you think in India, it's a bit of a unique situation or a position where, like for example, in Silicon Valley, there are startups that literally serve the global markets. Whereas in India, do you think it's a kind of a market in its own where there are like a billion people? So do you think startups can also thrive and be successful just in that market
Well,
alone?
so India is a large enough local market, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, a large enough local market. So there's nothing wrong with that one, right?
Mm,
But but eventually, yeah, if your stuff is very good, it should sell globally. It should sell beyond, so the Indians have been patented what I call the low hanging fruit. And nothing wrong with that one. Nothing wrong with that one. Yeah, there is no need to go down the ladders when you can reach out for the fruit, right? But eventually they will. Eventually, there will be ambitious entrepreneurs in India, who are not going to be happy just selling in India. It's starting to happen. It's starting to happen already. Yeah,
it's super
yeah,
promising
yeah,
now.
yeah. There's no reason to get impatient. Yeah. These things take time. Experience is built.
Yeah, exactly. And now, like for example, recently Perplexity AI's CEO, Arvind Srinivas, he quoted that uh, Indians are not only just good managers, but they can also build companies. You yourself are an example of that, and as well, these leading new generation entrepreneurs. Talking about AI, sir, what do you think? Like in terms of parallels, if we speak, do you see any
Yeah.
correlation between the
So, so,
dot com?
so let's go back to Indians being able to build.
Hmm,
You know, the beauty of India is the diversity of India. Yeah. So when you talk about Indians, you think about, so let me become a little bit, politically incorrect. Spirited Punjabis,
hmm,
literary Bengalis, cerebral Madrasis, business wala Gujaratis. You have a gene pool with all sorts of characteristics, right?
hmm,
Entrepreneurs are builders are very general purpose people who harness multiple skills into a unit, and y- you are not doing it yourself. You're making it happen. You are assembling a team. You're inspiring the team. You're finding the purpose in the market. You're finding the financing. You're making it happen, and that part is starting to happen more and more. Large enough uh, uh, brain pool.
hmm.
Even if 1/10 of 1% people, yeah, yeah, do it, that turns out to 1 million people, right? So the mathematical odds are in our favor, right? The Indians do so well in America only because environment is more conducive. If environment was as conducive in India, they would do just as well there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So what is your take on the AI boom? With so
I
many,
I don't obsess. I don't obsess. I started with when the computer was a new thing.
yeah,
When
right,
the personal computers were a new thing. When the networking was a new thing,
true.
software became a new thing.
Hmm,
Internet became a new thing. Web, yeah, local, mobile, yeah. AI to me is one more
okay.
wave. Every wave has been bigger than the previous wave.
Hmm. Yes.
Every wave has been bigger than the previous wave, right? So so this wave is started. It will no longer it will change the world. But so did the internet. So did
True.
the PC.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. In my
Exactly.
lifetime, right? In my lifetime, yeah, television happened. Jet travel happened.
Mm, yeah.
Color television happened. Computers happened. You, mobile phones happen in my lifetime, right?
Are you looking forward for space travel, sir, if I may ask?
No, I am happy where I am right now. I am 80 years old. My goal is to stay fit and healthy and be 102 and see India turn 100. I
Beautiful.
am much more focused on that. Can I stay fit and healthy? Yeah, for next 22 years. Yeah. I am very fit and healthy right now at 80. Yeah. Can I be fit and healthy at 90? Can I be fit and healthy at 100? Right. Much more.
What kind of lifestyle changes have you made recently that you are,
No, no,
looking
I
for?
made lifestyle changes 25 years ago. When
That's where it is.
when I started to focus on health as a number one priority in my life.
Right, right,
Yeah, quickly became aware. At the point I made, rest of you is built upon your health. If you don't have the health, there's nothing else you can do. You're tied down, in your sickness, right?
right.
So here's rating principle number 3. Rating
Yes,
number 3. There are things in life you have no control over. They happen. But things in life that you have control over, you must control them and do them right. And then pay a lot for the things that you have no control over.
spot on, spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. So once I became aware that health was my own doing, I
Mm,
need to eat right. I need to exercise. I need to, yeah, yeah. So those are things, you can't complain that you have diabetes when you kept eating mathai and samosas,
exactly.
right? So,
Yeah.
so, so, you become, you are responsible. You are the CEO of your own body.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
yes.
become responsible. So you manage
Mm,
it well. You can't become a complainer or a whiner. Yeah. Especially in the areas where you have full control.
right, right. Amazing. And sir, like apart from, all the experience that you have had in terms of, the career, what are a few childhood dreams, if you recollect, that you are living today? Maybe it can be anything, like, and maybe towards fancy items, right? Like maybe one day I would drive this car or
Yeah.
that kind.
So we didn't have television when I was growing up. Right?
Okay.
The television, didn't come to Kanpur when I left Kanpur in 1967. There was no television in India by and large when I left India.
Mm,
So
mm,
there was this entire Life magazine. Life magazine was the pre-television thing in America was very popular in India in the
true.
50s. Big
Yeah.
fancy photos, those big fancy automobiles with the large fins. Everybody wanted to drive Impala, if you remember,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Indian movies use Impala as the
Right.
ultimate luxury. I
Yeah.
did have Impala.
Okay.
One of my early cars was Impala. Was yeah, what realize Impala is not the luxury car. Impala is a working man's car, right? The
Mm,
luxury cars like Cadillac or yeah, Porsche or Mercedes. Yeah, I have had every one of them. The dream I had was to become an engineer. I have achieved every dream I ever had.
love it. So, if I would ask, if there is a biopic movie made on your journey, what would the title be? What would you like it to be called as or known as?
So there's a biopic movie being made on me by my son.
Okay,
It is almost ready. It is
awesome.
almost ready, and I don't know what the name he's using. The book that I am writing that will be out early next year. Yeah, there the title is The Drowned Breaker. The Drowned Breaker. Yeah, I think I brought new drowned every step of the way. And I don't want to become too chest thumping, self-serving person. Yeah, but I am very proud of what I achieved from where I started. Yeah, my beginnings are very humble.
Mm,
Yeah, a very humble beginning. Yeah, and yeah, I didn't go to public schools. I didn't go to Doon school like yeah people are any other Mount Abu or whatever the people went, right.
yeah, yeah.
So from where I started, getting into IIT was a
Mm,
very lucky break because I didn't have family didn't have the means to do the coaching classes.
mm,
I went to IIT exams totally unprepared. Yeah, on my own. I prepared on my own, but there were no coaching classes.
right, right, right.
And so there's a lucky break, right? But yeah, yeah. So you made your own luck eventually, right?
True, true. Love it.
Yeah, but the point
And
I made earlier, anything
yeah,
you can do right, anything you can manage and
mm,
control, you must learn to manage and control.
totally. And I know we have limited amount of time, but I'm so loving to have this, one-on-one candid conversation with you. Uh, towards coming towards the end segment of this podcast, I would really like to have you sum up if there is someone who wants to get started as an entrepreneur. Uh, what are a few
Okay,
steps
all
to
right.
prepare?
So let me give you. Nobody from outside can tell you to become entrepreneur. Bano.
Mm,
No mother, no father ever says, "Beta entrepreneur bano, beta doctor bano, beta engineer
mm,
bano." Right? Yeah, beta IAS officer bano, beta
yeah.
responsible bano, beta psychology. Responsible means, do things that we expect of you doing, right? You settle
Mm,
down means,
mm,
marry down and, get a job. Entrepreneurs are footloose. They are restless. They are indisciplined in the
mm,
sense that they are not doing the predictable thing. So it has to come from within. It has to come from within, and it has to be driven by this burning desire to prove something to yourself, not to anybody else.
exactly. Very important.
I am good enough. I'm as good as any out there. And I don't have to tell anybody. I just have to show them. So that so there are no limits to how far you will go, what you can achieve, other than the limits that you place on yourself. If you start to give yourself the permission to do the things that you want to do, that to prove yourself, and ignore the advice and the from the parents and from the friends. But you cannot be foolhardy. Yeah, you have to be showing the results every step of the way. At it for 5 years and going nowhere, then look in the mirror.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so in my case, the results were very clear every step of the way. I got into IIT. I wanted to be an engineer. My father wasn't sure. Being an engineer is good, but I got into IIT. I showed him what I could achieve. When I became entrepreneur, I told my wife, I need to do try. If I don't try, I'll come back and be responsible. But I have to do try. So there is a personal quest, is a personal tapasya. You put yourself through hardship. Yeah, nobody else can put you. Would put you through hardship, right?
Totally.
I think
Great.
that. Yeah.
And sir, one last thing, because this podcast, Part-Time Funkar, I started this just so that, you know, folks who want to pursue certain passion projects or journeys like entrepreneurship, they get source of either information or network. Could you maybe just push out like a few information about how can someone look for maybe getting connected to TIE or other organizations where they can look for mentorship
Yeah.
or um,
So think of Thai going to Thai meetings as a going to temple. You find the fellow worshippers,
mm,
fellow people with similar beliefs, right? You learn from if you are the go back to the old Tabir, but Tabir's, yeah. He said, yes, Sandat Sadhati Sandat Har Odati Vyad. It means it's a cure for every thing that also. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you start to learn and see what the other entrepreneurs are doing, how it's done, what are the basics, what are the fundamentals. Everything you do in life, everything you do, you prepare yourself. When I had to become head of marketing also, what does marketing mean? Or what it means, make people aware that what we have to sell. Okay, that's why. Is that enough? No, no. First, find out what is that they need, so you can do what they need and make them, and then make themselves. So how should I price them right? So you start to ask the things, fundamental things. Itai was set up to provide that temple that you come to find the fellow worshippers. It has been successful. Our nation has been around almost 30 years, only because it has stayed true to its stars and it's producing results, right? And Thai is nobody's ordination. It is a self-running, distributed ordination. Chapters in Delhi are totally independent of chapters in Bombay and chapters in Silicon Valley. They all have to locally excel. They have to serve the local market needs, right?
Exactly.
So,
All right.
if you want to be an entrepreneur,
Yep.
it's a very good place to start.
Fantastic.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time. And we wish you a lot of good luck. And thanks a lot for taking time for PTF podcast. It was an immense pleasure hosting you.